So we're going to do dry ironing. Dry ironing is heating up the herbs without any moisture, a dry kind of heat. And basically we're going to use some coarse salt, which I'll show you in a minute, and mix in with the coarse salt some herb. You have lots of choices. It could be almost anything, but it should be something that's fairly aromatic, fairly strong smelling. So some choices that we have are dingxiang, cloves, which is what I'm going to use today. Ganjiang, ginger, but you're going to need to give it a little whirl in the grinder because you don't want such big pieces. You need, small chunks of it. Or Sichuan pepper, chuanjiao. Another one that I like a lot and have used a lot is fennel seeds, huishang. You could also take something like rogui, cinnamon, and again, break it up with a pestle or give it a whirl in the grinder. In fact, in Lingshu chapter 6, there's a much more complex method, but it only uses 3 herbs, and the 3 herbs are the Sichuan pepper, ganjiang, and rogui, cinnamon. And so those would be, you'd like smash the Sichuan pepper a little bit in a mortar and pestle, and then you would break up or give just a quick whirl in the grinder for the rogui and the ganjiang, equal portions of each. And then you can, actually I've made liniments with it, I've made various things with it, but here we're talking about ironing, and so I'm going to show you the technique. But first, let's I'm going to use dingxiang for today, and I'm going to pestle it a little bit to break it up, to open it so that the aroma can come out. Okay, so I'm going to take the dingxiang and I'm going to pestle it a little bit, just to break it up, open it up. You don't have to make it into powder or anything. You don't want it that small, but you want it so I can smell the aroma. So I'm going to now put it in a bowl. And the other ingredient we want is coarse salt. So here in Los Angeles, if I go, like I live on the west side, which is where I'm not in a high-end area, but it's still kind of, mainstream. And if you go to the grocery store or, Whole Foods or something like that to buy coarse salt, it can cost a fortune. But if you go in a Chinese store, a Korean store, whatever, then they use this kind of coarse salt for fermenting vegetables, which I also do. And you can buy, I forget what this cost. I don't think the price tag's on it anymore, but it's like, $1 for a pound of coarse salt. So that's where I buy it. And we're going to put a bunch of coarse salt in with the dingxiang, however much you want. If I were doing ironing for a large area, I'd use more salt than that, but that's basically it. We can mix it up in the wok, in the frying pan. As with the other video where I talked about scallion ironing, we're gonna stir fry it hot, and then what we need to do is I'm gonna put it in a cloth bag, and then I can apply it to my body or the patient's body. You could instead use, this is a handkerchief that's been used, a cotton handkerchief that's been used to, strain herbs and so forth. You could wrap it in that and apply it, or I don't know, cheesecloth might not work so good. I think a lot of the salt would leak out, but these are the kinds of things you can use. I like the cloth bag the best. And then once you've applied it, you can use a microwave hot pack, or you could use a hot water bottle to put on top to keep it warm and to give a little pressure. You can also, there are ways of wrapping these things to make a ball like the Thai massage balls, and you could actually, instead of just lying it on top, you could actively massage the site with the heated herbs. But these are kept dry, and often those Thai balls are like steamed and made moist, which you can do with salt, but it gets more messy. So we're gonna go stir fry this now. Okay. Ooh, wrong burner. So basically I have a wok or something resembling a wok, and I'm going to just dump the salt and the ding shang in, and I'm just, stirring it and heating it. I have used, you can buy what looks like paper tea bags to put it in, but they're actually made of plastic, I'm pretty sure, and if the herbs you put in are too hot, they melt and leak out. So I know cloth, in some ways, it's more of a pain because you have to wash it, or it's a little more expensive, but on the other hand, it's more environmental, and you don't have to worry about it leaking out. So let's see. This is warm. I could give it another minute or two to get it warm. I know you probably can't see what's going on inside of the pan too well, but I could have used more cloves. I could toss some more in now if I wanted to. Anyway, if I was really doing this for a patient, I might heat it a little bit more. Of course, you have to be careful not to burn the patient. Now I'm gonna put it in the bag. You can see this is pretty quick. As long as you had a way to heat it at your clinic, you could heat something up fairly quickly for your patient, or you could give them the bag of salt and herbs and tell them how to heat it at home. That's good enough for now. Let's see. So we close up the bag, and now I have this. I'm going to apply it to my low back, which is a little achy this morning. Feels good, smells really good. The final thing I want to say is that you can reuse this and reheat it many times, in the microwave, or you could dump the salt and herbs out and reheat it in a pan. But one of the things I've noticed is that some of the herbs that are pretty oily, if you leave it around for a week or so, the oil starts coming out into the cloth, and then it looks patchy and weird. So some herbs like the huishang, it seems like you could keep reheating that over a long period of time and it doesn't get too oily on the surface, but I imagine the dingshang will let its oils out and into the cloth, and then the cloth looks funky, So that's basically ironing with salt. Why salt? Salt stays warm for a long time. Salt really holds on to heat. If you just use the raw herbs by themselves, They would be hot at first, but within a minute or two, they would cool down greatly. Salt stays warm for a long time. And, it can be less expensive as well, but it's still, got its herbal qualities. So that's ironing, that's dry ironing.